The flavor of the day is doubt. As I've mentioned before, sometimes these flavors of the day or flavors of the week seem to kind of crystallize out of various conversations with different people, or these kind of divergent situations with people in various parts of the world even. But the theme is consistent for a short period of time. I've noticed this before. So it can be a sort of emotion tone. It can be a certain insight. But in this case, it seems the doubt has been in the air recently, or some in-depth conversations about doubt, the nature of doubt. And I thought it would be good to make a video about it. Doubt functions at many levels. And you could almost say that early on, or before we have a significant insight into the nature of identity, there's so much doubt that we don't even know there's doubt. You see almost like a bravado of confidence that's perhaps constructed so that person is conveniently unaware of how much doubt they actually carry. I've had conversations with people on occasion where, not necessarily an in-depth conversation, and not a conversation about awakening or non-duality, but just casual conversations with people on occasion where this becomes really obvious. It's not all the time, but I've seen this where I'm talking to someone and externally they feel like, or they present themselves with a lot of confidence, with a lot of sort of manufactured confidence, which is fine. I don't necessarily question that. But just having a simple conversation with someone and coming from a place of just authenticity, I've noticed in those situations that the person can start to feel very unguarded. And I see this doubt coming up, like a lot of doubt or even insecurity or fear. And I really don't, I try not to do that. I try not to uncover stuff in people, but I don't even necessarily think it's me or my particular way of interacting. I think it just happens to some people. But I see that bravado, that sort of false confidence or that front of confidence just melting away. And underneath it, there's a tremendous amount of doubt, and I really empathize in those cases. I don't necessarily point it out. I just recognize it and feel it. These are kind of extreme examples, but getting to know anyone well, sooner or later, you're going to find a lot of doubt in there. And in that, how do I say it? In that layer of person that's just behind the sort of persona, or the front we put on, that's our maybe public face, our most superficial interface with other people. Just behind that, often there's a significant amount of doubt that people carry. And I'd say it's considered normal, right? Doubt about what am I doing here, what life is about, doubt about whether I'm doing the right thing, or I'm a good person, or I'm putting my efforts in the right place. We all carry a lot of that around. And, some of that is well placed. It's just because we are responsible people and we care and we want to do the right thing and put our energy in the right place, and all of it. And a lot of it, maybe most of it for a while, is actually sort of unnecessary. Actually, it's interwoven with the identity structure. It's interwoven with our sense of self, our sense of, it goes down to a deep root of shame, actually, that there's something fundamentally wrong with me. I'm fundamentally broken. I'm fundamentally not okay. And again, this is from the perspective of the persona that we can be identifying with. This is not even obvious to us. It's pretty hidden. But with introspection, with, trauma, disruptions in life, therapy, awakening, with any of these eventualities that cause us to start to look deeper, we'll find it. We'll find that part of ourselves that's deeply doubtful about, am I even okay? Is life okay? Am I safe? Are things okay? Is there a way to live in truth at all? this very deep doubt, you'll come into contact with that. And that's okay. Now, of all the things I mentioned, all the eventualities like trauma and disruption and all the things that can happen to us in life, relationships ending, jobs ending, health challenges, these kind of disruptions, paradigm shifts, we have the opportunity to dive into that, to really come into contact with all of that. But it doesn't mean it happens every time. Often we'll fortify or solidify or, pivot, distract ourselves in another way. If it's like that identity failed, let me form another one kind of thing, which is a little unfortunate because it is an opportunity. The beauty of awakening, the awakening process, is at some point you don't have that opportunity anymore. You always have the opportunity to dig deeper, but what you don't have is the opportunity to solidify, to sidestep, to pivot, to just create another identity. At some point you won't be able to do that anymore. And that's the beauty of awakening, is it kind of funnels you down into this place where you can't do it. And you have to face everything squarely and face everything fully and face everything full on until the perceptual filters start dissolving. And then there's not even a you facing it. You're not confronting anything. You are it. You are the fear. You are the shame. You are the guilt. You are the sadness. You are the grief. You are the resentment. You are the joy. You are the ecstasy. You are the surprise. You are the everything, and that's full on, non-separate, non-distinct, non-apart, non-duality has very serious implications in this way. If it's clear non-duality, there's no way to separate from resistance patterns and so forth, which is really good when it comes to the awakening starting to propagate itself deeper, because when delusion gets into sharp relief like that, delusion meaning the idea that I need to form an identity to avoid it and separate myself from experience, when the illusion of that comes into sharp relief, it can be dispelled, and it will be dispelled. But it requires the elimination of these fundamental mechanisms that allow us to disassociate from experience, right? And at some point, the fundamental doubt about you, about self and identity, will be dispelled in my experience. Doesn't mean that a doubt thought can never arise, but it's pretty quickly seen for what it is. It doesn't mean that you won't have to take inventory sometimes on like what's going on in your life, or what your challenges are, or how you're spending your time, or whether continuing this job is the right thing to do, or it's time to change professions, or these relative challenges in life. They don't go away, right? They get easier, largely because the sense of doership that's built into thought, in my experience, either subsides tremendously or goes away. Meaning you never actually believe that there's someone standing back here in thought making all these decisions, like a homunculus pulling the strings or something, or pulling the levers and turning the knobs. It stops happening. You stop feeling that way. You stop experiencing that, and so things are very direct. Even though there can be a sense of having to sort of contemplate maybe in a certain way, or maybe with someone else, maybe taking counsel about what needs to be done in your life at a certain juncture, because life has complex situations that you're going to come into contact with always. So there may be times when some deliberation, some whatever, is needed. At the same time, the sense that it's hard to talk about this because it really comes down to whether you experience free will from the standpoint of a separate agent, or not. If you don't, it's kind of obvious how this works. It's just what's happening, really, simply. Again, at the same time, there can be discussions about what needs to be done and what to emphasize, where to put energy and all that. But it's way easier and way simpler. Yeah. So that kind of doubt does go, I think, for sure. And again, the existential doubt, the existential angst, to me, does go. But what that doesn't mean is that the body mind is like completely free of like pain. That's just not going to happen. You can still feel pain. The body mind can still have diseases, right? Of course, it's still subject to old age. It's still subject to death. It's still subject to injury. All of that, of course. None of that goes away. You can just navigate it much more simply. You can navigate it with peace, with equanimity. That is possible. And then I think that the sense of equanimity replaces that fundamental doubt as an emotion tone. Rather than doubting everything and always feeling like I'm like apart from life, trying to figure out what I should do, shouldn't do. And like that management, that stepping back, that holding back, that hesitation, that becomes replaced by this equanimity, spontaneity, trust in life, peace. That at some point really does become pervasive in your experience. But everything fluctuates. Like nothing's constant or permanent. So anything I say, if your mind's turning it into like it's got to go like this way and stay this way, nothing stays anyway. It's not like that either. There's endless fluctuation too. So again, all of this is paradoxical, but I'm trying to be as accurate as I can about this. So that's my mini lecture on doubt. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts or more importantly, your experiences on it.